In conversation, we have with us Sneha, who has been working in the Ministry of Rural Development as a PPIA fellow affiliated with Transform Rural India and holds a bachelor's and her master's in chemistry. I'm so glad to have you with us today, Sneha. How are you doing?
Thank you, Suhani. Thank you for having me.
Could you describe a strategic intervention that you have supported at a national level to deepen or strengthen rural livelihoods?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So one of the most impactful initiative I have been privileged to support was the Lekpati Didi initiative, as some of you might have already heard about. So this initiative, NRLM actually, the focus of NRLM was on institution building and capacity building, but now it is being shifting to livelihood and economic empowerment of the rural women. So Lekpati Didi initiative, it is like the household income, annual household income of 1 lakh rupees. So it is Honorable PM's vision to enable 3 crore Lakpati Didis in the coming 2 years. And I have been privileged to work with this initiative from the beginning, since the time I joined the embedded cell at the ministry. And as of now, we have 1.48 crore women who are already become Lakpati. So I was mostly involved in the preparation of some training documents, other materials. So from national level, we have done a lot of trainings for the resource persons, the master trainers and all. They had been trained to support the community resource persons, which we call CRPs, who are the pillars of this initiative. They support the rural women for the livelihood planning and income enhancement. So I could witness how policies are made, advisories are made at national level. I could contribute to a lot of them also. And also, one thing I was involved throughout was there. We did a series of regional workshop. As a part of this initiative, the country is divided into 5 Lakpadi zones: the southern, northwest, northeast. So, like that, there are 5 different zones. And I could coordinate 5 regional workshops in all of these zones. 4 is already done. The fifth one is upcoming now in the next week, 9th to 11th of July. I'll be going to Raipur soon for that workshop. So that was also a very good learning opportunity, because we bring in a lot of stakeholders, including the state mission directors, external experts, to discuss more strategies, how to strengthen livelihoods across different themes.
That that sounds so amazing. The numbers of it all.
Yeah.
It's so interesting how you're such a huge part of this even bigger mission, and then you're able to make such impact. How would you say you have translated the national vision into actionable state or district level plans?
Yeah, so basically here at NRLM, I work with the non-farm livelihood vertical of NRLM. So NRLM, we have different verticals: a farm livelihood, non-farm livelihood. There is this financial inclusion and IBCB, institution building and capacity building. 4 verticals are there main. So I work with the non-farm livelihood verticals, where we have a scheme called SVP, Startup Village Entrepreneurship Program, which is an umbrella scheme, and there are a lot of sub schemes under it. So I have been working with the team to support the implementation of these schemes, at supporting the state level teams and all. And also we do annual action plans, which the state plan their annually what are their activities they'll be going on, what are the budget for that and all. So like with Lakpati Didi initiative, I have worked with the team to ensure that these annual action plans are aligned with Lakpati Didi strategy, and the components in this initiative is also coming in the annual action plan, with sectoral interventions across farm, non-farm, all of these verticals. And I have also tried to help the team in preparing simplified templates, which can help the state to plan better, and also bring in a standardized format across all the 34 states and all. And then also one thing I have to mention regarding the initiative is there is this digital Ajivika register, which was formed as a part of the Lakpati Didi initiative. So all the income tracking is now being done digitally. So initially, when this idea came up, a lot of apprehension was there, whether matlab, many of these women you are working with, the SHG Didis, they might not be that digitally, not that literate and all. Maybe they won't be able to handle it. But seeing this over an year now, I have seen that working very well, and we could gather a lot of data, which we are now currently using for all of the livelihood planning and all. So actually, it is the CRPs, as I told you, the community cadre. They only use this LocalS application and fill in all the details regarding what all income generating activities they are involved in, how much income they are earning from each of these activities. So quarterly, it is being updated and it is successfully done through all of the state. A lot of trainings and all are being done, but we have seen from field level, it is actually giving a lot of good insights for us also for further planning and all. It's good to see that these digital interventions are also getting a part of the work. And again, now we are coming to plan to come up with another tool which will be used for their livelihood planning. From this insights, what all they will be doing in the next year, how do they plan, what kind of assets, skill, finance, and market um, interventions they require to do their livelihood activities in the coming year, and from which all line departments can we bring in these resources and help them to plan their livelihoods better.
It is about time that digital interventions reach rural India. I feel like that is the next step for us. So let's say hypothetically that you didn't have to worry about the state support or official programs, just the trust of the village. What would your approach to promote sustainable livelihoods be?
Yeah, so now since like last 2 years, I've been working at national level and I've not been much in field. But during a lot of these workshop and the Saras Melas or many other interventions that we are doing as a part of the work here, I've been interacting with all of these SHG women also whenever I get an opportunity, and also from my learnings from the previous fellowship I have done. I would say, hypothetically, if this was the case, my approach will be centered on like listening to the village and trying to co-create strategies with the villagers. So I think they already, I don't know, some of us believe do not have that much of capability, but the truth is they have a lot of existing capabilities which we should leverage better. And I think I'll focus more on that. It's more, sometimes it is undervalued or maybe unstructured. If you can put in a little bit effort, you can make it structured, and they have solution to all of their problems. We don't need to think from here and give solution to them all. They have all the solution. You just need to handhold them a little bit so that they can work it out. That's what I have felt. So I think I'll do some participatory asset and aspiration mapping especially among the rural youth and women, so that I'll get an idea what they want to do exactly. And whatever is the missing link in that, I think I'll try to contribute it from whichever possible resources. So once this thing is done, I think like then we can help them make it a bit structured, and that might work. So it's not like you go with some pre-prepared solution to them and this is the solution to your problem. You should rather help them identify what are their actual problems and try to get the solution from that local context itself. That works better.
I really like your answer, especially how you talk about them being complete units within themselves. It's
Yeah.
about time we recognize that as people who don't live there. So, okay, what are three critical gaps or in the rural enterprise ecosystem that policies, in your opinion, haven't yet addressed adequately?
Yeah. So first one, I think I would talk about the credit readiness. We talk about a lot of time, we talk about credit access, but now because of lot of government schemes and all, there is credit access. Even through NRL, there is this community investment fund, CAF, RF, and all we give funds. And also through the SVP scheme, we mentioned it's basically for the enterprise promotion. So we do give economic support, financial support through these schemes, and also there are credit access is there, but the issue is like many times the most of the women receive these loans without a clear understanding of how to allocate this capital, where how to manage the working capital, or how to even navigate the repayment schedules. So there the issue comes. I think we need to give a structured handholding there. This credit shouldn't turn into a stress for them later. So the policies need to be beyond policies are now mostly focused on how can we disburse this credit to them. But we should also think how can we invest in enterprise literacy, financial literacy. There should be this pre-credit, some kind of capacity building should be there, and then they should be, I think, in a better position to utilize the credit they are receiving. Second thing I would say is mostly from the experience with Ministry of Skill Development. I worked with District Skill Committee and all. So the skilling programs usually, even now it is somewhat with all, there are traditionally some courses like computer there are certain courses. Tailoring, if it's so women tailoring there are a few courses. So I think now it is time, there is this industry demand, and what skills we are providing, that mismatch is still there. So that is, I think, another issue I have seen. So it should be more market oriented, aspiration linked, digitally adaptive skilling models should be there, I guess. That is especially for the youth and young women. This is important. And third thing is, with my experience here at NRLM, a lot of time what we focus a lot is on market access. So these women, they produce a lot of products which are of like different quality. The quality standardization, all those issues are there, but there is a lot of focus on like market access. Branding and marketing is always a topic we discuss here. So I think even after we try to onboard them on the various digital platform. Even we have our own digital platform called eSaras. There we also support onboarding on Amazon, Meesho, Flipkart, everywhere. But beyond this also, there are issues of like product quality standardization, packaging, and also nowadays a lot of focus is there on storytelling and branding, digital cataloging, logistics. I think for we need to focus, this market connect is still another issue our SG products are facing. So these would be the three things I think that needs more attention, or the gaps which we are asking for.
Those are such potent pointers that you mentioned. I mean, even I have to think about this now. But thank you so much for that honestly and deeply conversation that we had. It's voices like yours, Neha, that really make us focus on rural development. And to our viewers, these are just glimpses of the larger conversations we'll be having at the Indian Rural Colloquy 2025 happening August 1st to 8th. If you're invested in reimagining governance, equity, and justice in rural India, this is where you want to be. So follow TRI's channel for the full interview series and join us at IRC 2025 for dialogues that matter with people who make change happen. Namaste.
Thank you.